If you want to learn my tips on one of the best ways to improve your pass, this is the video for you. I'm going to jump into all the subtleties and all the important details that are going to allow you to make your pass completely invisible. What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got my tutorial on the dribble pass. This is another installment in the pass series, and if you have not already seen my video on the classic pass, Herman pass, turnover pass, or spread pass, I would highly recommend you go check out all of those because there's a bunch of tips in those videos that apply across the board in this video. Particularly the classic pass video that I will link right up here, I think is super important and an absolute prerequisite to this video. The dribble pass is one of my favorite passes and an incredible way to enhance your classic pass and allow you to cover it. So today we're going to break down everything you need to know about the dribble pass. If this is a move you have struggled to master, hopefully after today you can start to get it down. Now before we jump in, I want to mention the channel memberships. If you guys would like to unlock my full mentalism course, we are currently in the book tests section. So we're going over like 15 different book test routines. It's absolutely incredible. You can go sign up at the link in the description. I've also recently put out my propless mentalism masterclass, which is available for the wizard membership tier. If you are interested in that and getting access to all other masterclasses and lectures that are soon to come, I would highly recommend checking that out. So I'd like to thank all the members who have joined so far, and if you'd like to sign up and join, the link is down in the description. Also, if you'd like a one-on-one private lesson with me, links are down in the description. So with all that said, if you like these tutorials and you want to keep them coming, make sure to drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. With all that said, let's jump right into the video. All right, guys, so let's talk the dribble pass. So the dribble pass is a great pass. Essentially, in a lot of ways, the dribble pass is the classic pass with a dribble cover. But I think my approach to the dribble pass is a little bit different. I view the dribble pass as having its own kind of mechanics. A lot of people treat the dribble pass as just the classic pass, and then you just dribble the cards at the end. But I actually like to give the dribble pass its own mechanics that are different than the classic pass, that kind of happen while the motion of the pass is happening. Because to me, the key of the dribble pass is to begin the dribble as quickly as possible, right? If I'm going to do a pass, so let's say we have the 8 of spades. If I slow it down and I do this, that might look fine, but there's going to be two distinct moments. There's going to be the moment where you execute the pass, and then there's the moment when the dribbling begins. And that is something that becomes very difficult to try to cover. You know, because basically you need to take all the tips we've covered in the past about making the classic pass as invisible as possible, and then you have to apply a dribble into that and cover the moment of these two packets being separate, right? You've executed the pass, and now you have this moment that you need to quickly start dribbling to hide, you know, this separation. And trying to hide two of those things now are a lot more difficult. Why not just give the dribble pass its own mechanics, and now we're just focused on hiding one thing. So that's why I kind of have always approached the dribble pass in this way. My mechanics might be slightly different than what you've seen in other places, but I think they allow for a very smooth handling of the dribble pass and allow you to make it that much more deceptive. So first things first, I will say I am going to kind of breeze through the mechanics of the pass here, particularly the classic pass, because I have a much more detailed tutorial right here on the classic pass that I will point you to. So make sure you watch that before you continue on this video. But essentially what you're doing is you're getting a break at the card of interest. One of my favorite ways to do this with the dribble is to dribble slightly off the back of the deck and then come forward, and now you have a very easy break to pick up the thumb with and transfer eventually to a pinky break. If you need a tutorial on breaks, I'll link one up here. But essentially you go like this, and then you just dribble off the back of the deck and come forward. And you get this really nice break because of the friction of the cards, they'll stay this way. You can see, even if I do it like this, where I have a gigantic break, nearly half a card, you couldn't see it from that top view, and I still have that card. The other way that's great is when you toss it. So if you tilt your hand down slightly, your deck hand, and you throw the deck, instead of dropping it on top, you'd come from the back and you throw it forward. you'll get the same situation where basically the card's gonna hit somewhere here, and then because you're tilted forward, the rest of the cards will slide forward, but the friction will keep that break held back. So I've always liked to do it in one of those two ways, so I can either throw it on, and once you get better at it, like I do, I get a very small break, but I can nail that every time and get to the card that I need. So practice those two methods. I think those are some of the best, but if you're not comfortable with that, then simply have the card selected, return to the middle, and then close the deck and hold a pinky break. But I think allowing that break to feel very casual is something that really enhances your pass, right? If you can go here, take any card, they take this one, the Queen of Hearts, and then I say, okay, put that back here, and then I just go like this, and I can leave my hands like this, but now when I need to, I can cut directly to the Queen of Hearts because I just tossed it, and I have my break, it's left there, and I can just talk, I can break it up. That's a big thing I stress with the pass, is breaking up the movements, right? So movement number one is just get your break. Now talk, gesture, you know, communicate in the routine. Do you like the card you picked? Whatever you want to say. Now come and get the break. And I'll see a lot of people do this. They'll come to pick up the break, and then they'll jam their pinky in there and get set for the pass and then go right into it, right? And they do that kind of death grip. But the main thing that they're doing wrong, they have their break, but then they're coming in, jamming the fingers in, and then going right into the pass. Break that up. So once you're here, you can come and get your break, right? You could pause at this moment where you've now transferred it to a thumb break and then a pinky break. Then you can come and kind of re-grip the deck, kind of get ready for the pass where you really jam your pinky in there, and you can kind of hold the deck like this. It looks fairly normal. And then you just come over top and boom, you go right into the pass. I think that looks very good. At the bare minimum, I think you want to do this. Pause at this moment where you have some kind of artificial break. Now transfer to a pinky break, but go straight to the kind of deep pinky grip. Now pause here and then talk for a minute, and then you just bring your hands back and boom, you're right into the pass. And I think that is a great way to consider breaking up your pass, but it all depends on the context of the routine. Now the grip, essentially once you have got your break in whatever means necessary, so let's say you do this and you just throw on top and get a pinky break. What you want to do is jam the little finger so it's up to the first digit, right? So that first area where you have that kind of seam is going to be curled. You can see it's right on the seam. The top of the bottom packet lines up with the seam of the pinky and it folds on top. And basically the deck's just going on top of that. Now, because this has to go deeper into your hand, right? A normal mechanics grip, you're up here. This has to go down deeper into your hand so that you can get the pinky over top. And then you're basically just placing the rest of the deck on top. Now, if you just leave it like this, you'll have this massive break at the front. So you need to use the middle finger and ring finger to pinch down on the top to close up that break from the front. And then you're gonna wanna probably place your thumb on top of the deck like this a little bit to help close the break even more. The only reason it might look a little odd to stay in this position for too long is because you kind of have this death grip, right? Because the deck's so much deeper than we're used to into the hand. But I think a big fix for that is just move the thumb to the side of the deck, and it looks a lot more natural. And again, if you just kind of tilt the wrist a little bit, it looks totally fine. No one's gonna really pick up on that. But that's the first grip. It's basically just a pinky break, but it's a really big pinky break. What this allows you to do is go straight into a position where you have a grip on the packet. You can grip it between the pinky and these two fingers, and you can see I can do this one-handed. And that's a huge advantage because instead of now going from this small break where you just have a little bit of the pinky, and now you're gonna go for the pass, and then you're gonna jam your pinky in to try to get the grip that you need and then go into the pass. It's a wasted movement. Why not already have the grip ready? So now you just come over top with this hand and you can go straight into the pass, right? So that's the first thing, it's the grip. Now essentially think of this as two separate packets where you're gonna come over in a biddle grip, but instead of gripping the top packet, you're gonna come down around and use the fingertips with your thumb, your middle finger, and your ring finger to grab the bottom packet. So normally you think of a biddle grip, you're kind of grabbing the whole deck. In this one, think of it as two separate packets and you're coming and grabbing the bottom packet. Now in reality, these packets are gonna be against each other at the front. So at the front, it's basically a normal biddle grip. The only thing I would do is angle your fingers in. So instead of having them flat where they're contacting every card, if you kind of rotate them so it's the tips of the fingers, and you contact them near the bottom, now you're in a much better position where this can be removed without you having pressure. You can see if you watch these front fingers without having pressure along the deck. They'll be more curled and now this can move a lot more freely. The thumb, on the other hand, there's this big break back here, so it's just gonna contact basically the bottom cards. It might be touching the top cards very slightly, but it's not really gripping them. And the main reason is you want to be able to freely slide these cards in between your hand. And so you're just coming over with that biddle grip, and all you're doing is now you're basically leaving the thumb on the deck and then using these fingers, that grip that we had established before, to pull this bottom packet around and underneath. And that's essentially what a pass is, right? So you have the card here, and then you're bringing it around and underneath to move that card to the top. Now, one of my big philosophies, if you've seen my classic pass video, is allowing gravity to take over and being very loose with the pass. A lot of the times my pass just kind of looks like that, right? That's how I do it. Very loose, and I'm almost just cutting the cards. But if you do this with the right timing and the right moment, it's very quick and very nonchalant. And so the big thing is, I see a lot of people, they'll come with this death grip and they'll try to just rip this packet around as fast as possible. You know, they'll just try to like, oh. And that's always going to look like you're doing something. If you want naturalness, which is half the battle of covering the pass, it's being natural, then you need to let gravity do its thing. So how I tell people to practice is just take this bottom packet in your biddle grip and just slide the deck out. Just slide your bottom hand down and the packet will come with it. I'm really not even gripping it. If I don't even grip it at all, I'm essentially just doing that, letting it fall and then throwing the packet on top. The only difference is I have my fingers wrapped around it. But again, if I don't, you can see it's separated. I won't use my fingers. I'm just letting it fall and then I'm dropping the packet on top. So now you add your fingers with the grip and you do a very similar thing, but you're just kind of letting it fall and moving this on top. You can have a little bit of movement pulling away with this top hand, but mainly you're pulling away with the bottom hand and just letting the packet switch places naturally. That's an amazing way to get the feeling of how your pass should feel, just like that. And this is actually a pass that will totally fly in the real world, the kind of gravity pass, as I've always called it. Now the next step is when you're gonna actually perform the pulling of the top packet. You're now letting it fall, but you're also giving it some force and you're pulling it to make it happen even quicker. And when eventually you combine those two things, that's how you can get close to being invisible. I've kind of dived into the classic pass a lot more than I was planning to on this video, but if you haven't, I still recommend watching the classic pass video first. And I've actually touched on some things here that I haven't touched on in previous videos, so I think that'll be helpful for you guys. The last thing I'll say quickly is just the angle. So there's two main things to cover with the pass. One, it's this first pull. You need to cover this, and then when you come down underneath, you need to cover this. This is the big flash that you get underneath like this, right, when you're replacing the packet. So if you think about this in stages, to cover the top is very easy. If you just bring your hand all the way over top, well, now it's covered and I can, you know, have stolen that packet away and you won't even notice. But it doesn't always look the best to just come straight over top. So another thing you can do is bring the hands up so that they only see the front edge instead of seeing the top. Because if you see this, it's very obvious. But if I come up to here, now it's a lot less obvious that I just pulled that packet away because you're not seeing the top of the deck. So a combination of bringing the hand over and bringing the hands up very quickly can allow you to get into this position nearly invisibly. Now, if you come up, the problem is when you bring it underneath, you'll have this flash. So you need to transition your angles. So you come up, you bring the hands up, you do the pull motion, and then when you're like this and it's hidden behind the hand, now you start to come back down to show the top of the deck, which will now perfectly cover the bottom motion. Because how do we cover this? Well, we just tilt down, right? Now, obviously, you don't want to do this every single time. You don't want to be so dramatic like this, where you have this huge hand motion. So kind of the happy medium is to execute the pass, bring the hands together, tilt up a little bit as you kind of naturally come down slowly, allow gravity to do its thing, and be loose. My biggest tip is be loose. Don't have a death grip. Don't worry so much about being completely invisible in the real world. I think in practice, it's good to set up a camera or mirrors and try to take it slow and make your pass as invisible as possible. I always love to give this example. I can do a slow motion pass where if I just know my angles, I just know how to cover the angles, right? And I can make it pretty much invisible in super slow motion right up to a 4K camera, right? Because I've practiced enough that I know the exact angles that I need to do to because I've practiced enough that I pretty much know the exact angles I need to do to make my pass 100% invisible. So I've practiced that slow, so now I can do it a lot faster, and you just pick up the speed, but you keep the discipline with the angles. Quick pause in your regularly scheduled program. I just want to let you guys know about my Mentalism membership. For the price of like a coffee or two every month, you get access to dozens and dozens of Mentalism tutorials, 2 new tutorials being added every single month. This is an amazing place for you to start your journey as a mentalist and learn all the fundamentals. It's also an incredible place if you're more experienced to learn incredible effects, brand new ideas, new methods that you may have never seen before. People have been loving the membership. I've gotten great feedback. Currently, I'm breaking down the godfather of mentalism books, Practical Mental Magic. I'm breaking down every single effect, every move, every detail, every plot. I am not just teaching the tricks as they are. I revolutionize and update every single one of these effects. I will also be adding custom master classes. You will get some of my best unpublished material. And the best part is it's all right here on YouTube. No Patreon, no external services. All the videos are right here on the channel. All you have to do is head over to the link in the description where you can get access to the Mentalism course by joining the Mentalist tier of my membership, or if you'd like to unlock all channel videos, including the entire course, exclusive master classes, one-of-a-kind lectures, and the opportunity to request custom videos, you can join the Wizard tier of my membership. I hope to see some of you over there on the membership. Now back to the video, but let's talk a little bit about the Dribble Pass and the differences. So the big thing now is when you have these two separate packets, you essentially, because you're switching the top to the bottom packet, right, the original bottom packet is the packet that you're going to want to dribble once you get to the top of the deck. Now the great thing is I told you to have this packet in a biddle grip, right? You're going to biddle grip it essentially. And the biddle grip is the same grip for the dribble. So the first key thing is make sure when you come and grab that bottom packet, you're in a position where you can dribble it from that position, right? Without disturbing the top packet. Practice this. Practice being able to dribble it with that top packet in the way. So you're kind of dribbling from the middle of the deck. What that's going to allow you to do is now when you move this out of the way, you can go right into the dribble without having to, you know, do some kind of pull and then readjust your grip to get ready to dribble, right? If you need a tutorial on how to dribble, I'm not going to teach that here, but I'll link a tutorial on the dribble up here. So that's the first thing to think about. And once you can do that, that's a great way to practice. Then all you're doing is essentially the gravity pass or the classic pass while you do the dribble. Now, like I said, the reason I think the mechanics of how I do the dribble is different is because a lot of people will teach classic pass and then when you're here, dribble on top. And a lot of people can make it look very good, but it's in stages. Let's combine the two for a couple of reasons. One, it's faster, obviously. You know, because if you were just gonna dribble cards, well, you would just bring your hand to the deck and start dribbling. You wouldn't bring your hand to the deck, maybe adjust a little bit, then have something happen, and then start to dribble. So we can kind of mimic what an actual dribble would look like of coming here and dribbling with our dribble pass, which would now look like that. And that's the same thing. It just looks like I just do that. Let's do the pass one more time. So 8 of hearts. I'm going to get into position. And now watch, I just grab the deck and I start dribbling. That's what it apparently looks like, right? But I've done the pass. The same thing. I just come grab the deck and I start dribbling. And that was a regular dribble. And they should look very similar. I'll actually maybe put them split screen side by side right now so you guys can see that hopefully they look similar. I think that you want to come and kind of begin the dribble as you're executing the pass, okay? Now it sounds difficult, but it's really, really not. The other thing that it does really well is it hides all of this pulling and underneath motion because it just looks like you're springing the cards, right? If you're springing the cards or dribbling the cards and some cards kind of go all over the place, it doesn't really raise much attention because, well, you're just dribbling the cards, you're doing a flourish. So it's kind of the same theory. If they see some kind of, you know, little bit of movement underneath the deck or something while you're doing this, so what? It just looks like you're kind of playing with the cards and it really helps hide the pass. So that's the reasoning for it. So what you're essentially doing is you're coming over, you're getting in position, you're gripping, and then just as you begin to pull, you're gonna start dribbling the cards. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna continue to just kind of let these cards at the top fall while you continue to dribble. It's very hard to show slowly, and eventually that dribble packet is gonna be lifted up high enough that these are gonna fall, and the rest is gonna get dribbled on top, and everything's gonna stay in place. Now, the difference between a regular dribble pass and this is that the regular dribble pass will keep the deck in the exact same order. So if you're in a stack, you may wanna be careful with this because you are switching the order, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm beginning to dribble, then I'm basically cutting the packet halfway and moving the top packet somewhere in the middle, right? So just a note to keep in mind, but if you're just doing a single card control, I don't think there's too much better than this because I've got the card, I get in position, and then I'm gonna start to pull and dribble. You're gonna see the packet fall. There, it just fell in the dribble, right? I lost a few cards, but you saw the moment where the packet was up like this, and then I'm dribbling and it falls in the dribble. And then that last card in your hand is just gonna fall on top, and that is the card that you're controlling. Because if we watch a card face up, it's basically gonna be like that, right? And you can see how invisible that looks even when the cards face up. It just happens so instantly, because all the movement is hidden by the dribble. And because you are basically starting the dribble at the same time as the pass, it completely hides the pass. It makes the angles a lot easier. You don't have to think about angles nearly as much. You'll notice with the dribble pass, I don't do this nearly as much. I don't do the up and down motion as much as I would with the classic pass, because it's all hidden. We get into our grip position, then I just come over top. If I move my thumb out of the way, I grab in a biddle grip. I begin to spring these as I'm pulling the top packet, and eventually the top packet's just gonna fall, and I'm gonna continue to dribble the rest, dropping that card that I wanna control right on top. Now I do wanna emphasize with this, you are still doing the pull of the pass first and then beginning the dribble, so you're pulling and then you start the dribble, but you kind of do it before it's done, okay? Now you can see doing this slow, it's very hard to keep the cards organized, right? You need to do this with a bit of speed to kind of keep everything together. And the more so that you pull this out of the way before you start the dribble, the easier it'll be to keep things together, because there is a balance. Like I said, you're not starting the dribble right away and then trying to pull while it's already dribbling. You need to start the pull first, but you begin the dribble before you've cleared. That's the big difference. And if you're finding that you're having the cards fall all over the place, and one big thing you'll have happen is they'll get stuck on each other, or the cards will kind of get stuck and they're not clearing and the wrong cards interweave, you want to focus on pulling more before you begin the dribble, and then kind of everything will fall together. So those are my big touches on the dribble pass. I think if you combine all of these little tips and you go into it and give it the practice that it deserves, you can make a very nice, nearly invisible pass. The last thing I want to quickly talk about is the dribble Herman pass. So I'm not going to teach the Herman pass, but if you want to watch my Herman pass tutorial, it's up here. But if you're familiar with this pass, you will have a card selected, dribble, and it is on the top. So essentially, you're doing the Herman pass, which is essentially the opposite of the classic pass. Again, I'm not going to teach it here because I've taught it before, but the only thing now, essentially, you're going into the Herman pass, and as you come for the square up, you align it right into this biddle grip, and you can just move the index finger to the top and begin dribbling right away. But at speed, if you can kind of combine those motions in the right way, it can look very good. Now, if you want to learn my personal favorite pass of all time, one that is just so deceptive, so incredible, and the most practical, useful pass of all time, go check out this video right here. You will not be disappointed. This is an incredible pass. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was one that I had been wanting to work on for quite a long time. I'm a big fan of the dribble pass and all the things that go with it. I think there were a ton of great little tips and subtleties here, and hopefully you were able to get your dribble pass down. Let me know, did these tips help you? What did you find useful? And what is your favorite pass? I would love to know. Let me know down in the comments below. With all that said, guys, if you'd like a private lesson or to join the exclusive channel membership, links are down in the description. And with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.